Stu's channel.
Alright, so here we are at the point in which I have put the ends that fit into the speed controller together. I had to take off the old ends, obviously you saw that. And this is the point where I'm going to bind this radio to this receiver. Got a little action taking place. And there's my bind, all bound up, all good to go. Now here's the point where I systematically go through this and connect servos to zero these. This is all, the radio is all zeroed, and now it's a matter of just simply going, okay, well, aileron zeroed, next servo zeroed, next servo zeroed, next servo zeroed. So I'm going to zero all of these, which you don't need to watch, and I'll be back. All right, aileron. It's just like this. I know that this bottom is simply the holes intersected. Like so. And then 20 millimeters out from this edge here. Alright, let's give it a test fit, just to see. These are sitting just on the line, and this is forward, which it should be just like this. There it is. That's what it's going to look like. Had to mix up a little dab of epoxy real quick. Sand the end of a block. So I got a little bit of a sand, and my block is going to be just like this. And I am going to clean up that end just a bit. This end here. I don't need that getting in the way. So one block down. Alright, so we're down to this point. Let me zoom in a bit. We're down to this point here. I've got a block of wood on. And we are going to do, whoops, wrong servo. I'm going to do a little test fit here. Take a look at this. Now, I understand that there has got to be a small space in between the servo itself and the hatch, the cover. And it's to keep the vibrations from the body affecting this. So this has to be prepared with the rubber grommets and the brass fittings that go inside of here. There's one brass fitting. Here's another going in. And then what I'm going to use is, I'm going to use a small razor blade. as my spacer. That's what I'm going to use. So when I mount this up, I'm actually going to insert a small razor right here to lift it off of the surface ever so slightly. In fact, I might even stack up two of them. I was thinking about using a zip tie, and a zip tie does look like it has enough space. Just as long as these things are uniform. So this one's going to look like this, technically. So that's what I'm going to use for my spacer. But what takes place at this point is I've got to take my other piece of wood, and I'm going to sand it up just a small amount. On an end, on a flat surface of some sort, or a sanding block. I'm roughing it up. Do a little roughing up on this one. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. I'm going to line up the block. So this is where my block is going. But I've got to add a little dab of of epoxy to make things happen. And it's just a little tiny dab. It really is. There's a little CA. No, there's a little epoxy. Little epoxy. Mix it up nice. I'll get ready for the block here. The block is essentially going to go here. So I'm going to use the inside line as my marker. Go to look at my sanded side. It is this side. Attach this servo to it. I'm obviously going to need a servo extension, and I can either use the clamps that clamp these servos with their servo keepers, their line keepers, or I can wrap a little piece of string, or I could tape. Either way, string sounds good. Dental floss, something like that. And I'll be back in a moment. Take a look at the space on this. If I remove it, it does create a space. So I'm going to use this razor as my spacer. The next step is to give myself some holes. So let's prepare to drill some teeth. First, I've got to take a look at this. Yep. And yep. Let's take a look. Center. There's my marker. And on this side, position it just right. Wait a second. Wait a second. That's a problem. This one, that's not a problem. Epoxy's great, but That's an issue. And it's been far longer than 10 minutes. Let's take a look what I can do for correction. First, I'll see if I can get this off. So here I'm going to attempt to take off some of this epoxy. Alcohol, it's too late for it. I have to sand it a little bit. Okay, that's clean. And then of course I'm going to have to sand this side, but instead of using the same side, I'm going to flip it over and sand up the other side. What are you going to do, Stu? I'm CAing this. I'm going to CA this thing right into position. This was the perfect fit. And my belief is I'll be able to get that thing right on there without a problem. So, here we go. In fact, I'm going to use ultra thin. There it is. Checking my side here, moving this around. It should fit right there. Exactly. Check to the side. No funny business, that's good. And now I'm going to add a little kicker. I know, what are you doing? Not going to trust that. You're not going, oh yeah, that is just a block. Now it's part of the wood itself. Now better to give this one a little tensile strength test. It seems to be holding pretty good. So there's this side. That block is on there. It is part of this wood. It is so on there. That super ultra thin just seeps into everything and goes. I use it quite a bit for a lot of stuff, and that worked great. Now I know I got a hole partially started here, and I started a hole on the other side. Take a look. Look at that nice fit. That fits just great. Then of course my razor is going to fit right here, like so, just in between. That's enough space to give it a little space. It's a constant space there. Got a hole here started, need a hole here, and this is where I complete that mission where I was on. Top. And just to confirm, now that I have my hole started, I can take out my razor, take out this piece, turn this on its side if I wanted to, and literally start going for it. This is my marker. Marker. A drop. My 2 screws. Screwdriver. So here we are. I'm going to take a look at this. And look at it. Seems about centered, right? Looks good. Looks good to me. I just got to make sure my holes line up, that I've got myself the space I gave myself. Back just for grins, what I could do. Oh yeah, that space is there. Back to create a little bit bigger of a space, but it's good as long as it's consistent with the others. That's not tight yet, so I'll get on that as soon as I torque this up a bit. I'll go ahead and torque this one down just a smidge. Let the rubber act like a washer. So it's got a little, but not a ton. The servo is definitely attached. Check the other side of this to make sure I'm not. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Not digging into the cables. So that's good. First step done with one of these. 4 more, and we'll be back. And since we can't wrap everything up in one video, join me next time when I complete the build of this beautiful Habu 32X DF jet. We'll see you then on Stu's channel.